this is not based on wider geographies, wider chronologies, building greater narratives, larger narratives, general narratives on history. This is about one of the basic building blocks with which we tend to build these narratives. And that is also the reason that we archaeology and epigraphy students are being regularly labeled as technical people with technical expertise. So this relates to one such technical things, quote unquote. To begin with, nothing else than the excavated monastery at Lalpahari. And this plan I'm showing, I'm not getting into the details of this, but this plan particularly has a cue to answering why is this monastery called a vihara. The answer lies in the plan of this structure. I'm not getting into the details of this, but you know, since its publication last year, that the monastery is called Dharma Vihara. Now, one of the hypothesis of the excavator, Professor Anil Kumar, was the question. He did not conclude anything, but he has written and he has this idea at the hunch in mind that does this represent a nunnery? We had lengths of discussion. Finally, we happily agreed to disagree. He believes that possibly it might represent a nunnery, which I don't, a theory which I don't subscribe to. And what are his reasons? The prime reason is from this area in the 19th century was discovered from Jayanagar village itself, a stone image of seated Avalokiteshwara, whose image you have seen thrice in the keynote address by Professor Mahotsav. I remember thrice she showed that image, which is donated by a elderly monk, elderly nun who is called a Shakya Sthavira, elderly nun in a monastery. This was the first plank on which his theory was primarily based, I personally know. The second and third points are essentially material evidence. A number of bangles, hairpins, rings which are found during excavations. He believes that these are indicating that this might have been a place of residence for women, and also from the architectural details, he also has a few sets of evidences which indicate that the structural complex being made with special security arrangements, interconnected door frames, interconnected rooms, etc. These have been detailed in one of his articles also, if I remember. So, with this question, I get back to the first image, the first point which is highlighted here, the image of the Singhanada Lokeshwara. This was published by Cunningham as early as 19th century, and later it was published by many people, including Professor Baudzupikro during 1998 catalogue of Indische Kunst, Museum für Indische Kunst, Berlin. There also this image and its inscription was published, but about a couple of days back before I received this call, I was reading this paper by Gina Kim written in 2012 on the women donors, women dedicators of images in India. And there she, in 2012, rediscovered this Vijaya Sri Bhadra, this elderly nun. She found a manuscript in one personal collection in a museum, yes, in Detroit Institute of Art, of a manuscript of Ashtashahasrika Pragya Paramita Sutra, where it is said that a lady who is called Mahashri Bhadra, she is the donor of the manuscript, and she is called the disciple of Vijaya Sri Bhadra, and this Vijaya Sri Bhadra is mentioned in this image. So the second evidence that Gina Kim draws on is this Vijaya Sri Bhadra from this image. This is the introduction to that image. Now coming to the inscription. I'm sorry, I don't have good quality images because I didn't have time to. It was in Berlin Museum, then it is shifted to State Hermitage Museum now. I didn't have time to write to them. All these are from either Gina Kim's paper, photographs from either Gina Kim's paper or photographs supplied by Professor Kumar in course of our discussions. So this is the image, this is the inscription that was deciphered by Gaurishwar Bhattacharya in Claudine Balzo-Bicros's catalogue in 1998. All the words are clear. Mallika Devi is the name of a lady. Sthita is, as you know, is located, residing here or staying here. Shakya Sthavira is the elderly nun. Vijaya Sribhadra is the name. Deya Dharma is the act of dedication. Everything is fine except one word which is marked in red, which is called Vitovi. What is this? This is a blown up image of that segment. And what does Gaurishwar Bhattacharya say? He says Cunningham read this as Vinai, but he is not accepting. He gave himself two options, Vitovi and Vitori, and also was cautious enough that this is not possible, although the meaning of the term is vague. And finally, he translated the record as this, that this is the meritorious gift of the elderly Buddhist nun Vijaya Sribhadra, belonging to the branch or bitapi of Mallika Devi. He derived this, presumably he didn't explain this, but presumably he derived this from the root word vitapa, which means the branch of a tree. Even in modern usage, vitapa is the branch of a tree. So he talked about, he believed that if this reading is accepted, the Vitovi is amended to Vitapi, then she belonged to one of the branches of Mallika Devi. There is no cue in his reading to understanding what he means by a branch and where is the head office located. So the question is, was it really Vitovi? Answer is no. What is written here is clearly Vihari. This graph of her moves like this, and this is a composite graph. It's not a medial vowel. It's, I don't know under what circumstances this happened with this epigraphist, but this reading was wrong. You can readily see that this va and this ra are completely two different graphs if you see these curvature only. That is enough to understand that these two are different. So it's Vihari. How does that matter? It matters this way. Then the reading becomes Mallika Devi Vihari Sthita Shakya Sthavira Vijaya Sribhadraya Deho Dharmayam. Please don't worry about this Vihari, it should be Vihara, it's a grammatical error. The composer was carried away by the feminine. Mallika Devi, Sthita, then Sthavira, then Bhadraya. So he just, whoever composed it, the person he wrote it in feminine, Vihari, it actually should be Vihara. So now the translation should be, this was a donation by Vijaya Sribhadra, who was a resident of a monastery called Mallika Devi Vihara. It's fine. Jina Kim also wrote, I'll come to that in a slide. She also wrote very cautiously that possibly it hints at the point that this was, this lady was, Mallika Devi was patron of a nunnery because it was named after a lady. But the points are many. These are the three things. Number one is, it's not simply patronized by a lady. This is the proper name of a monastery named after its patron. Secondly, its chief nun, chief monk was a lady. And thirdly, this is the only, to my knowledge in Eastern India, the only evidence if this Vitobi is, meaningless Vitobi is now converted to Vihari and this translation is accepted, then this is the only so far known example of what we call an eponymous or eponymic monastery. जिस बौद्ध संघराम का नाम किसी व्यक्ति के नाम पर रखा जाएगा तो उसको हम पारिभाषिक शब्द में eponymous बोलेंगे. So it's an eponymous or eponymic monastery, and this is the only one named after a lady, and this is the proper name of a monastery. If you travel about, say, I don't exactly know, maybe 110-15 kilometers due west from this place, you reach Telhara. You have also in this very state evidence of another eponymous monastery which was named after the person who who patronized it. He was a king coming from Mathura. His name is Prathama Shiva. Therefore, the monastery is called Prathama Shiva Pura Mahavihara. So, this inscription now suggests, if we accept this reading, that there was a vihara in the name of a lady which was a nunnery, and it was one of its kind, at least from the so far known published sources, it's one of its kind in this part of the country. Finally, this is what Jina Kim wrote in 2012. If we follow Gaurusha Bhattacharya's reading, the inscription seems to suggest that Mallika Devi was patron of a nunnery. But this is my argument, my humble submission, that we cannot unfortunately accept Gaurusha Bhattacharya's reading, and that one word, its change leads to a major change in the meaning of the entire sentence intended in that inscription, which clearly proves now that even if we don't agree about Lalpahari being a nunnery, there was a nunnery in the vicinity of Lalpahari, because this image was found from Jayanagar, and all of you now know, if you remember Professor Baudze Petro's presentation, stylistically this is a Jayanagar production, Lakhisarai production. So, nunnery really existed within this area, but the problem is, the question is, where is it located? For that we have a number of options now. We have the mound just to the back side of this museum. We have a mound at Rahugad. You have the Satsarna mound. You have the mound in Bichwe, the other mound in the Lalpahari itself. I have no answer to this question of location of the monastery. It is now the task of Professor Anil Kumar and his team to continue excavation and find that thing. But yes, there was a nunnery in Jayanagar. That is my submission based on the rereading of this inscription. Thank you. I think I did it in 14 minutes. Please.